Somewhere in the Bronx right now, the New York Yankees are staring at a problem they've been avoiding fixing for an entire season, and sitting in AAA, hitting the cover off the ball, is the exact answer they've been sitting on the whole time. For months, fans have been begging for this call-up. Now, with insiders confirming it's finally happening, the wait might be over within days, not weeks. This is the story of George Lombard Jr., the shortstop the Yankees have been building toward for 3 years, and why his call-up might be the single biggest roster move New York makes all season. Quick hello if you're new here. This channel breaks down the real stories behind baseball's biggest prospects and roster moves, straight from what's actually being reported. If you want more breakdowns like this one, hit subscribe right now, because this call-up story has been building for years, and we're about to walk through all of it. Let's get into it. To understand why this call-up matters so much, you first have to understand the problem the Yankees have been living with all season. Their starting shortstop, Anthony Volpe, has struggled to produce consistently at the plate this year, and it's created a real, ongoing soft spot in an otherwise talented Yankees lineup built around some of the best power hitters in the entire sport. Fans have watched that shortstop spot underperform for months now, and the frustration has only grown louder as the calendar is pushed deeper into summer, with New York fighting to stay in the thick of a postseason race that leaves very little margin for a lineup spot that isn't pulling its weight. In a division as competitive as the American League East has been this year, every single out matters, and a lineup spot that's been quietly bleeding production all season becomes the exact kind of thing that decides tight games in September. And sitting right there in the farm system this entire time has been George Lombard Jr., the answer nearly every Yankees fan has been pointing to for months. To understand who this kid actually is, you have to go back to 2023, to the Yankees' first-round pick, 26th overall, out of Gulliver Prep in Miami. Lombard signed for an above-slot bonus of $3.3 million, an early signal from the organization that they viewed him as a special talent worth paying up for, even as an 18-year-old high schooler still growing into his frame. And there's a story behind that talent that makes this whole thing even better. Baseball runs deep in this family, in a way that reads almost like it was written for a movie. His father, George Lombard Sr., was a second-round pick of the Atlanta Braves back in 1994, his own hometown team, and played parts of 6 seasons in the majors as an outfielder across a professional career that stretched 16 years total, before becoming a respected coach, currently serving as the bench coach for the Detroit Tigers. Baseball wasn't just a hobby growing up in that household. It was the family business, generation after generation, and by every account, the kid inherited the tools to match the bloodline, and then some. Lombard's rise through the minors has been fast, and at times, genuinely electric. He reached AA by age 20, remarkably young for that level, and along the way he earned a selection to the MLB All-Star Futures game, one of the clearest signals the league sends that a prospect belongs in the conversation with the very best young players in the sport. Scouts who watched him during spring training this year came away raving, with one evaluator reportedly calling him the best prospect he'd seen all spring across either the Grapefruit or Cactus League circuits. He shot up prospect rankings as a result, climbing 50 spots in one national outlet's rankings update alone. As of this month, Lombard sits as Major League Baseball's number 6 overall prospect in the entire sport, not just the Yankees system, the entire sport, and New York's undisputed number 1. The scouting profile on him is exactly the kind of thing that gets an organization excited. He's a physically gifted shortstop, listed at 6'3", with present strength and bat speed that already grades out as plus raw power, the kind of frame evaluators believe still has real room to fill out and get stronger. He's shown a patient, mature approach at the plate that belies his age, the sort of at-bat quality that usually takes years longer to develop. Defensively, he's a sound shortstop with sure hands and an above-average arm, and while some evaluators have floated a future move to third base as his body continues to fill out, right now he's still handling the most demanding infield position on the diamond at a high level. Among the shortstops the Yankees have taken in the first round over the last several drafts, evaluators have specifically pointed to Lombard as having a better overall blend of hitting and defensive tools than the others in that group, which, given some of those other names, is a genuinely notable distinction. So why has it taken this long? Why is a player this talented, this highly ranked, still waiting for his first big league at-bat? Part of it is simply service time and development patience. Even elite prospects usually need real reps at the highest minor league level before an organization feels comfortable handing them a full-time major league job, and Lombard has had his share of growing pains along the way, including a stretch in Double-A last season where his strikeout rate climbed as he worked through mechanical issues with his swing. But this month, the picture has changed fast. According to John Heyman of the New York Post, the Yankees are expected to call up Lombard within the next 2 weeks. Around that same report, Yankees insider Ryan Garcia noted that club officials were actively weighing the decision as the team headed out on a long road trip beginning in Philadelphia, suggesting the timeline could move even faster than expected. There's been some conflicting chatter too. One report floated the idea that the Yankees could actually wait until mid-August before pulling the trigger, timed around service time considerations more than pure performance. But the overwhelming signal, right now, at the tail end of July, is that this call-up isn't a matter of if anymore. It's simply a matter of exactly which week it happens. And the timing lines up almost too perfectly with what Lombard has been doing at the plate recently. Just this past week, reports out of the Yankees farm system noted him collecting multiple hits in a continued hot stretch, exactly the kind of performance surge that makes it harder and harder for a front office to justify leaving a bat like this in the minors, while the big league roster keeps struggling to generate offense from that position. When a top 6 overall prospect in all of baseball starts stacking hot week on top of hot week right as his own organization is dealing with a clear positional need, that's usually the exact moment a call-up stops being a hypothetical and becomes a business decision that basically writes itself. There's also something genuinely charming buried in this story that's worth pulling out, because it says a lot about who this family is beyond just prospect rankings and scouting grades. Back in spring training, George Lombard Jr. actually got to play against his own father, with George Sr. standing in the opposing dugout as the Tigers' bench coach. The two even exchanged lineup cards at home plate before the game, a genuinely rare moment in professional sports where a father and son found themselves on opposite sides of the same field, one coaching, one still climbing toward his shot at the show. Lombard Jr. called the whole experience awesome afterward, and Yankees manager Aaron Boone specifically noted how unusual it was to watch a father stand in the dugout, coaching against his own kid at the plate. That's the kind of family baseball story that doesn't need any embellishment to be genuinely great, and it adds a layer of depth to this call-up beyond just the numbers and the rankings. Now think about what this promotion could actually mean once it happens. The Yankees aren't just handing a struggling roster spot to a random up-and-comer hoping he figures it out at the highest level. They're handing it to a former first-round pick who signed for above-slot money specifically because the organization believed in his ceiling from day one, a player who's climbed prospect rankings all the way into the top 10 in all of baseball, a player whose father literally played and coached in the big leagues, giving him a level of exposure to the professional game most 21-year-olds simply don't have. If Lombard comes up and produces anywhere close to what his scouting reports have promised for years, this isn't just a minor roster tweak in the middle of a long season. It's the Yankees finally plugging one of their most talked about long-term holes with the exact player they spent 3 years and millions of dollars developing specifically for this moment. Of course, there's real risk here too, and it's worth being honest about that instead of only hyping the upside. rushing a 21-year-old prospect to the majors in the middle of a tight postseason race, with minimal time at the highest level of the minors, comes with real growing pains built in. Even elite prospects strike out, get overwhelmed by big league velocity and secondary pitches in their first taste of the majors, and go through visible adjustment periods before the talent that made them a top prospect actually translates on the field against the best pitching on the planet. Lombard himself has dealt with swing mechanics issues and strikeout concerns at points during his minor league climb, including a stretch in Double-A where a stride that had gotten too long threw off his entire bat path and led to a spike in swings and misses, especially against fastballs. There's no guarantee that transition happens smoothly or immediately once he's actually standing in the batter's box against major league arms for the first time, in a pennant race, with a national audience watching every single at-bat far more closely than any minor league game ever gets watched. But here's the bigger picture, and it's exactly why this call-up has become one of the most anticipated storylines in Yankees baseball this season. This is a team that has been quietly, patiently building toward this exact moment for 3 years, watching a first-round shortstop climb from rookie ball all the way to the doorstep of the majors, developing right alongside the very position group that's been dragging the big league roster down all season. Every promotion, every level, every adjustment along the way has been building toward this specific opportunity at this specific moment, when the big club needs exactly what he offers. Whether it happens this week, in 2 weeks, or gets pushed all the way to mid-August for service time reasons, one thing is now completely clear. George Lombard Jr. is coming, and when he finally steps into the batter's box wearing pinstripes for the first time, years of anticipation, scouting reports, and family baseball history are all going to collide in one single at-bat that Yankees fans have been waiting on for a very long time. That's the full story behind one of the most anticipated prospect call-ups in recent Yankees history. A first-round pick, a top 6 overall prospect in all of baseball, a kid who grew up with the game in his blood, finally getting his shot at the exact moment his organization needs him most. Keep an eye on this one over the next few weeks, because the moment that call-up becomes official, you're going to want to already understand exactly why it matters this much. This video is created for entertainment and informational purposes only. All information discussed is based on publicly available reports, interviews, and statements from credible sports media sources, and reflects ongoing developments that may change over time. Nothing in this video should be taken as confirmed fact beyond what has been publicly reported, and no claims are made about the private motivations or beliefs of any individual or organization mentioned. Warning disclaimer: this video is created for entertainment and informational purposes only. Opinions and commentary are based on publicly available information, reports, and statements from credible sources, and reflect ongoing developments that may change over time. This is not an official statement from the New York Yankees, MLB, or any individual or organization mentioned.